So we're gonna start with where you're from, how you got into what you do, what exactly you do, and what really drew you to it.
So yeah, for those of y'all that don't know, I'm DJ Knockout. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I've been DJing roughly about 12 years now. I really kind of got into DJing growing up, watching my older brother. He was a DJ, and kind of just took a liking to that, and started off just kind of like practicing on some of his stuff, and then
So he was a big influence for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, my brother, he growing up just watching him, and then I was always tagging along sometimes to some of his events, and then just always seeing him with the equipment around and stuff.
Right.
I was like, all right, well, cool. I'll try it out too, see what's up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just was playing around with his equipment and got started. And
so how big is the age difference between you two?
So it's kind of crazy. So my older brother, he's actually about 10 years.
That's not crazy, man. My brother's 10 years older than me too.
Yeah, so we got the same dad, different moms. So
yeah.
But it's kind of weird. Like I said, my older brothers, both of them actually, they were pretty much grown by the time I came around.
Yeah, no, I know
doing
exactly
their own little thing and stuff like that. So yeah,
he was already in parties when you were.
Oh yeah. Like he was already doing stuff, and I mean out making money and rolling with the DJing thing.
Right.
And then by the time I came around, he was kind of phasing out of it and going into different things in life. So it's kind of like I just kind of picked up where he left off.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
How does he feel about you doing it now? And he's sort of like, he dropped it.
No, he always gives me a hard time about it and everything. But he's real supportive of it. He's always proud of the things I do. It's crazy. Like back then when he was DJing, the game was different. It was like a lot of DJs early on weren't doing the things that I'm doing now.
Right.
So it's like the playing field's kind of changed a little bit, but it's dope to see how it's all evolved, and he's, like I said, he's just been real supportive of it.
So you said something that sort of, sparked my interest in something I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. How important is it for you and just in general for people to have a good support system around them? Like, you get what I'm saying?
I feel like it's very important to definitely have that support system, and but to be honest with you, man, my peers, they were always kind of like, they always made jokes like, "Oh, you gonna be a DJ?" and da da da. And the one thing DJs hate is when you come up to them and they do the little wicked.
Yeah.
I hate that with a passion.
It's like a little pet peeve.
But yeah, it's like a little pet peeve. So people out there, if you ever meet a DJ, don't do that. it's.
So it's funny that we started talking about that. You were talking about your peers and how they were sort of messing with you. Mm-hmm. So one of the questions I have for you, How is it dealing with adversity? Like, coming up, being a DJ, and, really what I'm talking about is, the real-life haters. The people that are, you're growing up with, they're just subtly shooting shots at you. How do you overcome that, and, what pushed you through that?
To be honest with you, it was to be expected. I knew that I was walking a different path. It wasn't something like the rest of my friends were doing. Like, I also was playing sports, too, at the time when I first got into it. And everybody's like, "Oh, how you going to be a football player and a DJ?" But I kind of knew that due to injuries and stuff in high school, I knew that my football career wasn't going to
So you're going to have to make a little shift.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have to find a different path. So music really kind of stepped in and really, kind of carried that over for me. But, I mean, it was to be expected, and you use it as motivation, to be honest
100%.
with you. There's nothing better than the same people who was clowning and making the jokes back in the day.
Yeah.
Now they run up and they're
the ones wanting to take a picture with you.
Yeah, let's get a picture out of that. Yeah, they do all that. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's no love lost. I have no hate, nothing
of course
towards any of it. I mean, like I said, it is what it is. I take it as it is. So.
Well, I think for somebody that, does stuff, especially in the entertainment space, content creation, all those different lanes, it's important to not be a hater yourself, because all that does is deterring you from your own path. Because if you're focusing on the hate, especially from other people, but also inside of yourself, it definitely hinders you from everything else that you're doing.
Of course.
It takes you away from the path that you're going down.
Of course.
But so that I want to get into. So being a DJ, and you said you've been doing this for 12 years now. Mm-hmm. What lessons have you learned? Like I said, I didn't know you were doing it for 12 years. That's actually a lot longer than I thought. So what lessons have you learned, especially early on, and now that have really helped you get to where you're at now?
A lot of it is really the little things, preparation. Everybody always thinks it's like, oh, the big crowds and stuff and all that. It gets to you. Really, honestly, if you're prepared for it,
Right.
it's easy. But well, for me, it's easy.
Yeah.
I can't speak on everybody, but it's one of those things. It's like, you pick up little things here and there as you go. It's just it comes with experience. So like I know for me, like I said, preparation, time management, scheduling. Here lately, scheduling has been a big thing.
Yeah.
Especially for me because just like we kind of talked about earlier, my schedule is hectic, so
Yeah.
it's like it's one of those things you just got to kind of plan ahead.
Oh, 100%. It's really important to like, bro, I try to myself especially, but like even the people around me that are trying to do things, time management is so important because
It really is.
it really hurts yourself when you don't know what your next move is, or if you've got too many next moves and you don't know how to like approach them. You know what I mean? Because if you've got too much on your plate or you bit off too much, it really can confuse you. You know what I'm saying? So say you've got like 3 different events on the same weekend and you don't like have the right block schedule, it's really gonna, this one might leak over into the other one and then, shit can just get messed up.
Exactly.
And time management, bro, is super, super important. So one other thing I wanted to get into, especially with, being in Lexington, how was it for you coming up in a place that isn't even like, they're not too much accepting about hip hop? Or too much accepting in the hip hop and entertainment and creator space?
I'm glad you asked this. So we kind of talk about this a lot. Me and my cameraman Fred.
Shout out Fred.
Yeah, shout out to Fred, man. But yeah, it's one of those things where there was a lot of doors that had to be kicked down.
100%.
And there was people before me that had already laid down foundation and groundwork, and it was one of those things. It was like we had to create an environment and a scene where there wasn't any representation of it. So it was like you would, especially even now to this day, sometimes you still kind of run into like obstacles, especially like if it comes to like booking venues, or dealing with just atmospheric environments and stuff like that. You have to find common ground, and you have to feel like a lot of people shy away from the hip hop scene because it's looked at as everything that goes on inside of it, like
exactly,
with the violence and all the other things, the drugs.
I completely
all that type of stuff. But I feel like you have to get to that point and have those conversations with people to let them know, hey, what I'm trying to do isn't that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times it's one of those things. I have those conversations where I call them like temperature checks, or just kind of go in, like if I'm dealing with a venue, I might stop by on a non-busy day just to chop it up with them and just
to keep that rapport with people and,
exactly,
stay
just
out
kind of ease their fears and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of people, before they go into business with you, everybody always has like a preconceived notion or something like that, or has some type of idea of whatever. And it's just like you got to be able to derail that and then let them see, like, hey, look, no, like we're good people. We
exactly,
come
100%.
in peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here in Lexington, it's a big thing. Especially we didn't have venues that were open to that.
Yeah, 100%.
And we didn't have those type of opportunities.
So going forward now, especially like I said, in a place that doesn't really, it's not too accepting. It's definitely starting to grow a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you being somebody that's definitely like established in the city, where do we go from here? Like, how do we start to build it up even more? Because Louisville's starting to do this a little bit, like with they've definitely got more people popping off. It is a little bigger, but you get what I'm saying. Where do we go from here to really get people to start accepting it and really adopt the way of like content creation, hip hop, all these things that go along.
I feel like it's important for people in the hip hop community to be seen in places where we're not expected to be seen.
Right.
So it's important when I DJ at certain venues where they don't typically have hip hop nights.
Right.
Those nights are more important to me, and I value those nights a little bit more than I value a night at a spot where we do hip hop every week. You know what I mean? So
it's like, different. It definitely it raises the eyebrow.
Exactly. Like when people see my name on a flyer for a certain venue that, like I said, they're not known for having those hip hop nights there. It's important, and I know it's a growth thing. It's one of those things where it takes time to develop that environment, but when that environment does get established and you can mix the worlds, it's crazy. So like I said, I believe it's one of those things. It's like we just got to keep putting ourselves in
Out
new
there.
environments,
Right.
and shaking hands with people we normally wouldn't cross paths
Right.
with.
Because it's important, like,
Yeah.
especially, like I said, when it comes to, like, raising eyebrows, it's not all the people that already are into hip hop, because those people are the people that, like, we're already around.
Exactly.
So bringing the new people in, it's not like, you get what I'm saying? It's not like we're trying to, get all the people that like hip hop to start, like, accepting even more. It's the people that don't accept it at all that we're sort of trying to, like, not push it onto, but, try to get them to accept it a little more.
Exactly.
That does bring me on to my next thing, though. So you as an individual, how did you grow? Like, what were really some of the steps that you took to, get your name out there specifically? And, what moves did you have to make to really establish yourself here and just as a DJ in general? Like, because, there's a step when, especially when you're talking to your peers and people around you, there's a point where you're not just doing it for fun.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So what moves did you have to make to establish yourself?
So early on, when I really kind of got into the DJing thing, the internet was already starting. Social media networks was kind of out there and stuff like that. But the thing really was, like, you had, like, websites that were releasing mixtapes and stuff like that, like Dat Piff, live mixtapes. Spinrilla eventually came around, and my mixtapes. But early on, a lot of DJs got a big following from dropping those mixtapes.
Right.
And I mean, they would do them. You had some dropping them weekly, some dropping them monthly. And I mean, you had guys like DJ Drama and even DJ Khaled at one point was doing mixtapes and things like that. But those mixtapes, when you put them online and you're featuring big name artists, you get a lot of attention towards your name, and then people start realizing, like, oh, okay, this DJ is dropping good mixtapes and stuff like that. Let's follow up. And it was one of those things where I had to build that following outside of social media. So by the time when social media became what
it is now,
that following carried over.
Yeah.
So I had to be multiple places at one time. But even outside of that, on the local scene, it was finding places where it was more so finding venues where I could play, bring in my people that want to hear the type of music that I play, and promote those nights, make those a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, give people something to look forward to. Yeah. And I feel like that really kind of really helped as far as growing early on. Yeah. And I mean, now it's just, fast forward into today's times, everything is at your fingertips with the phone.
It's so simple, man. Yeah, it's so accessible.
Exactly. So
you can talk to anybody, and that's I've had this conversation with plenty of people, man. I'm young. I'm super young, so I really, when I was growing up, social media wasn't the biggest thing, but by the time I was able to really understand social media, it was already sort of there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So somebody in your position, how was that, seeing it grow itself? Like, how was that? Because I know you said that
crazy.
You're trying to establish yourself outside of it, so when it does pop off, you're already there.
Exactly.
But how is that from an outside perspective looking in? Like, you can really see everything that's sort of, like YouTube, for instance.
Yeah, YouTube, I think it's important. I think it was something that definitely needed to happen, because now it's like you get to know the person outside of the environment that you like. Just by hearing my name, I DJ. Yeah. But let's see, okay, well, what's this person like when he's not DJing? Right. What's he doing when he's not performing? What's he doing when he's not doing this, that, and other? So it's like, and that's what I work a lot with Fred on. Me and him, we take a lot of time sometimes when we are putting together posts. So sometimes you might get on my Instagram feed and the first post you see on the carousel, it might not be a picture of me in front of turntables, right? Because I do that already. Exactly. I want to be able to show you all, okay, cool, this is what else goes along with DJing, or this is what I do in my free time when I'm not DJing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of adding that personal feel to it. Exactly. and eliminating, like when you think of musicians or DJs or anybody in the entertainment business, you think of these people that are doing all these cool things, and the chances of you able to get to meet them and sit down with them and have these conversations like we're having right now, it seems like some far-fetched idea. I want to eliminate that and bring back the idea of, at the end of the day, we're all people.
We're all people, man.
We're all people. I just happen to do a lot of cool stuff.
I'm glad you said that.
That's all it is.
That's important because, obviously I'm not at this point yet. We're small. And
That's where it starts.
100%. How important do you think it is to be, humble and stay relatable as to even at the height of wherever your journey takes you? How important is that to stay humble and to, like I said, really be relatable to normal people? Because where you might be super busy, you're traveling, you're doing all this fun, spectacular, really cool stuff that a lot of people actually don't have the opportunity to do. How important is that to, like I said, stay relatable to people?
Man, it's very important to me. I love it, and it's like, I've said this to some of my friends before, and they'll be like, man, you just DJ'd a concert with so-and-so and so-and-so, and then now you turn around and you come back to the hookah lounge, and you're back in the hookah lounge, and it's just like, I do those things for a reason. A lot of times when I'm doing my scheduling, I don't want myself to get caught up into all the big things and everything like that. I want to still, like I said, just keep that thing in my mind of telling me like, hey, look,
this is where I started.
This is where you started, and at any given moment, this stuff could be here today and gone tomorrow, and I could be right back in here in the hookah lounge grinding it out like I was years ago. So it's like, it's important to have that reminder, and then it keeps me having a hand in the local community and keeping that connection between me and the people here.
Right.
So it's one of those things, like I said, I don't want to be one of those type of people where it seems like, oh, I'm larger than life and like you can't just reach out to me and stuff like that. Like, no, like I like being able to go DJ and my friends be like, hey,
still be able to talk to them and not have them feel some type of way just because
exactly.
you do
what
stuff.
I mean? So it's important to me to just have that.
Yeah.
So
going on to switch it up a little bit. So in your own words, what do you think separates you from other DJs? And what do you think that you bring to the table in the space that might differ from the average DJ?
Energy and the vibe. Like it's just really more so an experience. So a lot of DJs, we all have different vibes. We all have different energies.
Yeah. Well, that's because everybody's individual.
Yeah, everybody's an individual. So everybody has their own like kind of personality to them and their own style. So it's like when I'm DJing, I want you to come to a knockout event and know, like, as soon as you walk through the door, oh, this is DJ Knockouts here. Like this is a DJ knockout event. Like you can feel that. It's a different type of energy. A lot of times when I DJ, the vibes are. I always make a joke and say it's like family reunion type vibes and stuff sometimes because it's like I feel like. Because
you're so connected.
Yeah, well, I feel like sometimes when I'm DJing, I remove myself from the aspect of playing at my crowd or to my crowd, and I put myself mentally in the crowd. What would I want to hear right now if I'm at the bar right now? What do I want to hear at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night when the party's going crazy?
Getting turned up.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I put myself in those positions mentally so that I know, like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I'm actually with my crowd, not just up here on the stage playing to them or playing at them and just yelling at them on a mic. Like, no, I talk to my crowd.
Well, let me ask you this. So that sort of sparked my interest. Being somebody, especially in music and being a creator and just in the space, really, do you think that it's important to hear other people out, like, very often? Because, I think some creators and people that are in music, sometimes they it's good to be an individual, and I'm not saying that it's not. No, but what I'm saying is, I think sometimes people, just because they like it, they think that everybody else will like it. Right. So how do you keep that common ground of like, keeping your own style, but also pleasing your crowd and pleasing your fans?
I feel like you're never done learning. So it's like, you can learn something from everybody in the room.
Right.
I can't tell Fred how to hold a camera. I can't tell you how to get on here and run a podcast to be successful to your liking. So at the end of the day, it's like we all have something to bring to the table. So I feel like every idea should be heard, but at the same time, use common sense.
Yeah, exactly.
At the same time, if it's not making sense or if something just doesn't seem doable at the moment, maybe revisit the idea later.
Right.
But I never really fully count anything out because I feel like everything could be possible at a different time.
Right.
So
I completely agree with you. I have this conversation with this guy at work pretty often. it's important to hear everybody's opinion, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important to, hear everybody out. I think it's important to learn as much knowledge as possible.
Of course.
But I also think it's important to, stay true to yourself and
Exactly.
to, in staying true to yourself, finding what fits you. So
Yes.
like, say Fred's trying to teach me about something about a camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might want to hear everything that he's got to say,
Exactly.
keep that knowledge or retain that knowledge, but also, keep it in my own style, so you're not like jacking his swagger.
Exactly.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
Like,
So like, I think that's really important.
it's kind of one of those things. It's like, I can give you all the ingredients you need, but I can't, cook up the recipe, have it would work for you. You know what
No,
I mean?
exactly.
Like, it's just literally like I can give you some tools that work for me, and you take and pick what you need from it that you can apply, and
Exactly.
if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, hey, at least it was available to you. So
I want to ask you this question, and this was actually one of the first things that I wrote down. At what point did you realize that you could do it as a career, and like I said, not just as like something that because even sometimes when something's going well,
mm-hmm.
it's still temporary. So say something, say you're doing something for 4 years. That's a big difference from 30 years.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So at what point did you realize you could do it as a career, not just like a side gig?
I feel like for me, that idea hopped in my head when I realized I was talking to somebody not too long ago, and we was talking about like all the things we did leading up to now.
Right.
And then we thought about it. We was like, man, we really got time invested in this.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't.
12 years.
Yeah, you don't think about it as you're going through it. You're just going through it, and you're always like, for me, my thing is there's always another step. There's always something you can do to make it better.
100%.
I mean, like, yes, I do dope things right now, but who's to say 5 years from now I could do something unheard of? You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to always think outside the box and make sure that I'm staying passionate, and
exactly.
I don't want to burn myself out, and I want to also make sure that I stay true to why I fell in love with DJing or why I fell in love with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, the moment when I stop loving what I do and I feel like I'm only here to get a paycheck, that's when I feel like I've lost. That's when I feel like I've cheated myself.
And I think that's so important because I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, whether it's money, whether it's just drive in general, whether it's the people in the space, I think it's important to really realize that you got into it for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And once that reason, once that drive and that fire is not there anymore, that it really is a hindrance because if you're not sitting there being passionate, you're not sitting there working super hard, you could devote that energy to something else.
You could.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That does bring me to one of my other questions though. You said something about earlier. Do you ever have to take time off so that you can sort of have that like creative think to be able to think outside the box? Because man, life is fucking busy.
It is.
And it's sometimes it's hard to take a step back and be able to give yourself that time to think, give yourself that time to be creative and have these new ideas. So how do you go about that?
For me, I also have a daughter.
Okay.
So I have to make time for family things. I have to set aside time to be daddy and not DJ Knockout.
Right, exactly.
I feel like
you're not just a DJ, you're a person.
I feel like I get to clock in and out sometimes. So like this is a business too. So it's like I said, I feel like DJ Knockout's a company and I'm just an employee at the company sometimes. So it's like for me, I feel like I have days where usually it's earlier in my week. I'm usually planning. I am figuring out what's the next step.
Right.
What are we going to work on for this quarter of the time or this time period? Where are we at? That's usually when I do a lot of like my analytic readings and things like that, and I look at my insights, and I'll look at stuff. I might write a few notes down and stuff, but then I also take time to just live. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be consumed by this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I like to just go out and do different things. So.
I also think that's super important, and I said sort of something similar to this a second ago. But when you lose yourself in your work, you also sort of lose that ability to step back and sort of see what you're doing from a bird's eye view almost. Because if you can't do that, the mind is a crazy thing.
It is.
And you can forget how you're doing things. So if you're so consumed in what you're doing, you can sort of forget like not ideologies, but you can sort of forget like the reasons why you say you started, or you can forget things that keep you going.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can lose your purpose. And I think that's super important, bro. That's awesome. I did want to ask you this, just, us being in Lexington and stuff. What's it like being a DJ at UK? I mean,
It's crazy.
Actually you met, so Jack, the guy that's on the podcast with, or usually on the podcast with me, you actually met him one day. Did you know that?
Okay. I meet so many people, man, to be honest with you.
You met him in a store, and that's actually how I heard about you, because he told me about you, and then I'm trying to recall it, how it went. So he told me about you, meeting you, and then it was crazy, because then a month later you followed me on Instagram, and I was like, wait, what? And so I hit you up, and now we're here, but that's super cool. But yeah, what's it like being a DJ UK?
Man, UK is I say it's a magical place, because
the best basketball team in the nation.
I'm telling you, it's one of the best places to be at. It's one of the best just families to be a part of. I mean, being in the athletic environment with UK, it's a lot of relationships that you get to build. You are literally working with these young women and young men that are talented from all over the country.
Exactly.
And just as simple as my job is, just a simple element as far as providing vibes and energy and during the game day atmosphere and stuff like that, it plays a big role for them. It's important for them to go out, and when they're doing their warm-ups during basketball games, they
feel that energy.
They're getting that energy together. They're getting that mindset, And I love it, man. I love it. I've gotten to meet so many great people, built so many great relationships, and I mean, it's just I can't ask for anything better. You know what I mean? It's just truly a blessing to be able to work there.
So on the topic of UK, how did you get the opportunity to go there? Because we were sort of talking a little bit about it before, but being a DJ at, especially somewhere like UK, I mean, I don't know exactly what the capacity of Rupp Arena, especially now that they've redone it, but like that is fucking huge. Like you're doing, as a DJ for the University of Kentucky basketball, you're DJing for more people than people do for bigger venues.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Well, see, the thing is, like, sports DJing is a crazy market.
Yeah, it's a little different too.
I'll say this: DJing in sports is, for me so far, it's been a very big challenge.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm taking it pretty well. I feel very comfortable with it, but at the same time, I love that though too.
Yeah.
I loved
switching it up,
coming into, like, when I first came into the opportunity. I was like, okay, I was a little nervous. I was like, okay, this is a lot of people. But then I also was kept in my mind. I was like, I've been here before. I've done this before. So it's like, it's different. But it's really different coming from a concert aspect of being in Rupp Arena doing concerts than going into the game day situation. But with sports, DJing in sports, it's a lot of on the fly. It's almost like being a human iPod.
Okay.
So it's like you've got to know within less than a 20-second notice. All right, they might tell you, hey, we need something upbeat right now. We need something to get everybody up and dancing. Right. And you got 20 seconds to find that perfect song that's going to fit that moment right there. And get the energy up. So it's crazy. And like I said, I mean, I love it. It's different, but being in sports DJing, it's definitely a little tougher than just doing concerts and clubs and stuff like that.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's because it's PG? And the reason why I say that
does play a big role in it. So I'll say this too. A lot of people forget that, yes, we have the thousands that's in the arena.
Yeah.
But it's bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean,
you're DJing on TV, national TV too. So
which is nuts,
it's
man.
crazy. When we have those ESPN situations and it's SEC game days and stuff like that, all those different things, they play a factor in it. But it's, you've got to think, all right, cool. Somewhere at home, there's a kid who's watching this TV show or watching this game right now.
Right.
And you got to play the right song to where even if they just watching it on TV,
they're like, okay,
yeah,
no, exactly.
UK's lit, UK's nice, whatever. But at the same time, it's like you also got to keep in mind you got 23,000 people inside of Rupp going nuts.
Which, like I said before, I mean, dude, that 23,000 people, that is like ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
it's so I actually looked it up the other day. Rupp Arena for college basketball, Rupp Arena is the second largest arena for college basketball.
Really?
Number one is Syracuse. They hold like over 30,000.
Really? So
But,
over 7,000 more?
Yeah. So it's really it's just a huge arena. But to be honest, once you're in the environment and you're locked in that moment, it's just you feel it right at home, and it's like I tune it all out sometimes. But at the same time, it's like I keep in mind, like, I'm from Lex.
Yeah.
This is your home, bro. Yeah,
this
is home. You know what I mean? It's like this is where I belong. Like, I worked hard to get here, and it's great. It's an overwhelming feeling sometimes, but
that's what I was gonna say. On a personal level, what is it like for you? You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking DJ Knockout right now. I'm asking you. How does it feel like, growing up? I mean, you watch all these basketball players. You've been around Rupp your whole life. Mm-hmm. You've been around the city. How does it feel for you as a person, like, being up there and, like, okay, the real thing I'm asking you, everybody has these real moments in life, and whatever case it may be, whether it's music, whether it's sports, you have that moment when you're in front of people, right? And you're like, wow, like, you got to take it in. How does that feel for you? Like, what do you feel? You know what I mean?
So Fred actually caught this moment on camera, which is so awesome. Crazy. So, and it really wasn't even when the people was in the arena. I think it was my first basketball game. I was actually first, like, regular game I was working, and I showed up. They gave me my we have, like, the show flow or, like, the game flow package that it basically got, like, commercials, all the information that goes on in game and on TV and stuff like that. And so as I'm reading through it, like, there's, like, one moment where I just kind of sit back. I'm sitting up in the stands.
Like, oh, shit.
And I'm just, like, looking around Rupp Arena. I'm looking at the banners. I'm looking at everything that's in there. And it's just like, yo, this is bigger than me. Like, this is huge. Like, this is crazy. Like, I grew up as a kid coming watching the Harlem Globetrotters in here. My brother took me to, like, the Monster Jam thing.
Oh, yeah, those were lit.
So it's like I've been around Rupp Arena so many different ways, like, growing up as a kid, to be like, now
you're, like, one of the head venues
like
there.
They know me on a first name basis now. Like,
that's dope, bro.
It's crazy. I mean, like, it's amazing. Like, I mean, even out, like, take the whole DJ thing out of it. Like, if you would have said someone that looks like me would be DJing in Rupp Arena even 10 years ago, people looked at you like you was crazy. They looked at you like, no way.
Even 10 years ago, DJing in Rupp Arena at all wasn't really.
It wasn't even. Yeah, it was like, oh, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like, now, and this is why. Shout out to Warren Peace, by the way. DJ Warren Peace, man, love that guy. He's a like guy. A brother to me. So, he had, like, he's been with UK for a while, and he's still with UK, and he's made this whole process of going into UK athletics a lot easier for me.
Right. Is he sort of how you got introduced to the job?
So it's a little weird. So all right, so I'm gonna give the story. A good friend of mine, KY Engineering. He's a well-known engineer from here, also in Lexington, Kentucky. He's engineered for Drake. He's engineered for Waka Flocka. Everything 2 Chainz has ever done.
Right. Really? Everything?
Yeah, I mean, like, this man's got more plaques and Grammys and things than you can imagine.
That's cool.
He's a very good friend of mine. He was actually, he came into town one day. He's on his way to go speak to the UK volleyball team. And he was like, yo, come on, tag along, man. Come on, let's go. I was like, all right, cool. So, I mean, like, and I've been around UK for a while as far as, like, the student body and stuff like that, and some of the athletes, because I was always doing, like, off-campus parties and things like that. So they kind of already were familiar with who I was. And so when I walk in, I'm just kind of in there kind of as, like, a sponge, just kind of absorbing this whole moment.
Everything.
Like, and I mean, it was crazy. So I met some people in the administration, and met some people like some of the ADs and stuff like that, and they were basically like, yeah, like, we were making, like, little jokes about, like, yeah, man, we should get you in here to DJ.
Yeah. And it happened.
And, like, literally 2 days later, I get a call from one of my guys at work that works in the marketing department, and he was like, hey, what you think about DJing some of the games? And I was like, man,
how are you on that? Were you like this?
Like, yeah, it was one of those moments. It was like I had to put myself on mute real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
yes.
But it was crazy. So it was like, I told him, I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And he's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna give you a call back in a couple of days. called me back in a couple of days, and I had a meeting like later that week, and it was finalized.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
That's super dope. So we talked about UK. I sort of want to flip the script a little bit. How has it been, working with artists from around the country? Like,
I love it.
So that and then I want to make sure I say this right. What have you learned about people? Like, not only just like people that you're working with, but people in general. What have you learned about people in like a not a business level, but like a personal level, like to like how to carry yourself around people. You know what I mean? Because like I think sometimes people can be not confused, but it's sort of hard to like realize who's there for you and who's there for the DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
it's one of those things where it's like, you learn more by saying less sometimes. So it's when I go into new environments and I'm around new people, I might be quiet at first because I just want to get a feel of the energy and just kind of see what's going on. See, okay, how do I fit in this situation, or are these people that I want to be around? Are they bringing energy around me that I feel is positive and not something that can set me back?
Right,
you know
trying
what I mean?
to be like feeding off of you or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like for me, everybody will reveal themselves at some point. Everybody will. You will see who's really there to either help or support,
right?
And who's there just to say they there for whatever, grab the pictures and
right, exactly.
I mean, and stuff like that. But it's like you have to sometimes just, like I said, let people be people. Let people be who they are because they'll show themselves eventually.
They'll show their true colors.
They'll show it. So
100%.
It's like I said. I don't go into any situations automatically assuming things.
Right.
I literally just sit back and I know, like, all right, cool. Like if I'm working with the artist, I show up to do what my job is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's some artists I've walked into the studio with and we've clicked instantly.
Right.
And it's like it might be somebody I met that day, but it feels like we've known each other
exactly.
for like
it just
years
works.
or something. Yeah.
Right.
It just works. And then there's also other people where it just we just show up, do our jobs, and go go about our
like
day.
You don't really find that chemistry.
Yeah, it's weird, but I mean, that's just how some people are. Some people, I don't know what's happened to people in their journey leading up to that point, so I don't know what situations might make them cautious to be around somebody like me.
Right,
and they don't know what situations I've been through that could make me cautious to be around somebody like them. So at the end of the day, it's just the more of yourself that you give to me, the more of myself I can give to you.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is.
So one thing for me, I try to follow this, like, obviously to the best of my ability. Nobody's perfect. But, man, I try to hold myself at a high expectation, and then I try to hold everything else to, like, a lower expectation. And the reason why is because if I hold myself to a higher expectation, I'm somebody that's got the work ethic, and I'm sure you do to get where you've been, where you're at now. But like the reason why I lower my expectations for everybody else is because if you have that preconceived notion of I need this to go this way with somebody, or I need this to go this way with somebody, you're either setting yourself up for failure, or it's just there's a lot more room for error. You know what I mean? Because if something doesn't go your way, that can really hurt you.
It can.
But then if you have low expectations and then something goes great, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a great feeling.
It's one of those things. It's like when you're going in, say you're taking on a new project, and in your mind you have an idea or a vision of what you want this to look like when it's all done and when everything is finished. It's okay to have that and look at that and use that as a model guideline. But when you're working with other people to achieve that, you also have to keep in mind that this person might not
have the same
exact vision, or they might not. Or like you said, their work ethic might be different, or exactly. Or what they contribute might be not as up to the same level of whatever you're contributing. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like take everything with a grain of salt. Never take it for granted, and never go into a situation expecting everybody to be 110% on the same page,
right?
Or everybody to move exactly like how you move.
I think that's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of what it is.
So I'm gonna change it up a little bit here. So, what are some of your dreams? Like, what are some of your next steps? What are some of your goals that you like? You've been in it for 12 years now, so you're obviously like established. But I mean, I'm talking like, say, 15, 20. When you get hit 20, when you hit 25, like, what do you want?
There's definitely chapters to this. I look at my life almost kind of like either like a book or like a
big
docu-series or something like that. You know, I feel like I'm moving into the chapters now of, okay, we're in a different part of the grind now.
Yeah.
The grind, essentially, for me to get to this point looked a lot different than where it is now of where I'm going.
Right, you have to carry yourself a little different.
So it's like now I'm more focused on what can I do to show everybody that this is bigger than me too.
Right, exactly.
To where I'm like, at first it's like, you know, I want everybody to look at me. Hey, look at me. This is what I'm doing. This is I do this. I'm a DJ Knockout. I DJ all these different places. 9 times out of 10, if you're in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm not saying this to sound big-headed or anything like that, but it's just like 9 times out of 10, if you know I DJ, if you know me, then you know I DJ. Like, you know what I do. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, okay, let me show, like, what else did I do? Let me show you the other side of this. Let me show you how this is bigger than me. Let me show you
how versatile I am.
Yeah, like, so like now it's about more than just DJing. It's about more than just playing music at these great events. It's about the community work. It's about
that's beautiful.
Setting it up for the next person to come along, because I'm not going to DJ I'm not going to be 40 years old jumping around on the stage. You know what I mean? So it's
you never know, man. Shaq
never know. I might come back out for another tour or something like that, or something like that. But you know, it's one of those things where I know that there's a kid right now who has been locked in his bedroom with nothing but 2 turntables and a laptop, trying to figure it out.
Well, let me ask you that, and this is perfect. So this is like sort of like a 2-part thing. With that being said, what's some advice you'd give to some of the new people, some of the younger people, the up-and-comers in DJing? Like, what is some advice? What's some game that you can give to somebody that, you know, you didn't have when you were at that stage?
Don't stop. Keep going. Like, I mean, that's I feel like I had a meeting. There's an artist that I used to work with, and his dad was managing him at the time, and they had ended up signing with Warner Brothers. And shortly after the deal was finalized and everything, we went out for like kind of like a celebratory lunch type thing, me and his dad. And I showed him kind of like a guideline of what I had going on with my company, Grind to Shine, which was a online radio station. Now it's coming back, but I've got other things I got to take care of first before I get my radio station back on the ground. But I remember him telling me, I was like,